Yeah, no pressure. No songs. Well, good evening. All right. Good to see so many of you come out tonight. We're excited to share with you our plans for next year. I'm just going to talk about a little bit to get us going on the letter I sent out in the communique. It has been described as aggressive. It's certainly sarcastic. There's an element of that. I would give an element why. The Bible teaches in Jude that we contend earnestly for the faith once delivered, right? And so we are in a spiritual battle overall within the culture and for Grace Christian School. And, I'm trying to make a case. And generally, I'm just one of those guys that say, hey, we're a great school, something you should consider. I'm not going to tell you, generally speaking, what to do with your family. But I felt like in this letter I needed to say, hey, what we're doing here is special, and you should be considering joining us in that. I see that being really evident last week at the elementary musical. You know, what was presented by our kids was not just we're going to try to show people that we're Jesus-y, but rather that's every day where we're exalting Jesus Christ in our classrooms. Our chapel services are not washed out vanilla, but rather we boldly proclaim Jesus is Lord. Our band concert the week before, the way Mrs. McBride, presented the gospel and just the tone and attitude of worship, that's what Grace Christian is here for. We are a Christian school. And, I like to make the case, there's no one in the 3 counties that does Christian school better. There's Lutheran schools, Catholic schools, but we really put Christ in the middle of everything. And you'll see that in some of the curriculum even that we're going to be presenting tonight. There's a misperception about Grace that in the sense of if I come and I pay my tuition, I'm paying and as if you're buying a product. Grace Christian School is not a product, it's a community, okay? And I don't want to say buying admission or paying admission to be part of it, you're just contributing to help it exist. Everything that happens around here is through people giving and sacrificing for it to happen. There's no sense of, I paid for it, so I deserve it. We just can't afford that. And so I thought I would just share those things. I'm trying to stimulate supporters of our school to consider giving, that idea of the sinking ship mentality that some of our supporters have. And it's like, well, if you would quit saying it's a sinking ship and support it, we wouldn't have that issue. So there's a perception I'm working against. And so anyway, I just wanted to address some of those things. In reflection, I have my own kids here, and you deal with the day in and day out school, right? It's cold in the school, or there's too much homework, or they're crying because of homework. But then there's those moments where you see them discussing theology with their with their friends at youth group. For me, that's the win. Sometimes I'll see a Bible open on the kitchen table with notes and a commentary, and they're trying to figure something out for school. You're not going to get that anywhere else. And it's those moments, for me, that make Christian education valuable. There's a lot of the regular drama of school, friends and all of that. But there's a lot of things that you're going to get here you can't get anywhere else. So that's my spiel, that's my pitch. What we're offering in the high school, middle school, this year's transition will be a little bumpy. But I expect that this will be the means by which we'll be able to offer a lot for our kids. Whether they choose dual enrollment, VOTEC, or both. Going into next year, I know at least 1 or 2 are considering, I'm going to want to do VOTEC and dual enrollment and my core classes and the electives. Ambition is rewarded here. Going into next year, we're looking at this principle law of the harvest. Whatever man sows, he will reap. So students, this curriculum, whether it be this year with our current teachers or going into next year with the digital, you're going to get nothing from it if you put no effort into it. If you just expect to show up, it's not going to happen. And that's true in life with respect to marriage, with respect to your job, with respect to your family. there's a principle that's undefeated, law of the hardest. And so we encourage you to listen to Mrs. Colford as she begins to explain what does the next year look like. But more than that, be ready to come to work, take advantage of what's there, and invest in yourself, okay? Because we're trying to get you ready to go into the world to be successful, not only in worldly success, but for Jesus Christ as well. Would you join me as we open with prayer, and then we can get started? Lord, we do thank you for this time. We thank you for so much interest for these parents to come to see what is going on for next year. Give them an honest evaluation of what's coming, and that they would make a decision what's best for their family. Lord, help us as a school to encourage them, whether they stay at Grace or if they choose to go somewhere else, that we do all these things in love. We're so thankful for how you've blessed our school for 50 years. Lord, you know we struggle, and yet we've struggled for 50 years, and you're aware of that. Help us to depend on you, not only in the past, but today and the future. We're thankful for all the work that's been put into preparing tonight's presentation. We pray that questions could be answered, that communication would be clear, that what is said by Mrs. Colford would be understood, and then for questions from parents can be understood and answered well. We pray that your Spirit would lead in all those things. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'm grateful to see all of you guys here tonight. Our last session was sparsely attended and this one's full, so thanks for coming out. I know you guys are all as busy as I am. We do want to be transparent and give you as much information as we can possibly give you. I know you guys have waited a long time. It probably feels like it's been at least 2 months since we made the announcement. But we needed time to get the answers that you want to your questions. So Mrs. Corwin and Miss E and myself have tried to put together all the information that you're going to need. Ben just said, you know, we're going to, he prayed that it would be clear. I hope that it is clear. I would ask you to, if you can, hold your questions until the end, because there was no good, perfect order to put things in. They kind of just stack on top of each other. If you have a pressing question and you want to go ahead and ask it, I'll let you know if it's a good time for your question or not. And there will be a time at the end that you can ask all the questions. Okay, so we're going to try to give you an overview of what your choices are for next year and what we've been working on. I'm going to start by just not introducing the secondary staff because you guys already know them, but just reiterating what their roles are going to be. So Miss E is going to be facilitating our 7th and 8th grade combined classroom, and that was the last session. Mrs. Corwin is going to be our 9th through 12th grade facilitator, and she's taking on the role of academic advisor. And then Mr. Wellen is going to be our high school Bible teacher. As you probably read in our last communique, that comes on the heels of Mr. Schwartz announcing that they're moving to Iowa to be near family. And we're sorry to lose Mr. Schwartz, but we are very excited to keep Mr. Wellen. So I want to differentiate between facilitator and teacher. So teacher is what you're already used to, right? So Mr. Wellen will continue to do all the things that a teacher in one of our classrooms normally does. He will prepare his own lessons. He will set his own test schedule. He will communicate with you directly regarding his class. He'll post grades in GradeLink, just all those kinds of things. Facilitators are not teachers. They will not be teaching the curriculum regardless of whichever one you guys choose. They will be facilitating the classroom, and we'll talk about that as we go throughout the presentation. They will communicate with you in a different way than what you're used to. And when the course is completed, they will be responsible for entering those grades, making sure that they get from the platform to the GCS report card. They're also grading about 15 to 20% of the work in the digital course because not everything can be done online. So they're overseeing that, and we'll talk about that more as we go through also. Okay, I printed this out so that I could make sure I'm on the same slide as you guys. So I went over this in the last session because I think it's important for you guys to understand that we're not just throwing together a program. We are trying really hard to implement best practices, to get ahead of this, to make sure that we have a solid plan so that when your students show up in the fall, everything's in place. It is well thought out. We are working with what we've got. Okay, so we set objectives for ourselves. What do we want this program to look like, and how are we gonna measure it? Like, how are we gonna measure the success of whether we're doing a good job or not? Okay, so the first step up here is to build confidence in digital learning, because not everybody feels confident about going into a digital classroom. Now, a few of our students have been doing dual enrollment, so they have a little bit of experience and they kind of know what that looks like. But most of our students, even at the high school level, have not taken a class online, right? So we're looking to instill that confidence, to teach them how to do it, to help them be successful, and to help them buy in and develop ownership of that. The second one there, to establish consistent routines. Do they know what to expect when they come into the classroom? That'll be pretty easy to judge when I walk in a classroom 2 months in. Do they know what's going on, right? So teaching them what a new routine looks like. So right now, when you walk in a classroom and you sit down and you wait for the teacher to tell you what you're doing that day, right? But now they're gonna learn a new routine. I come in, I sit here, I have my device, I log in. Okay, so teaching those new routines so that they can stay organized and have success in the digital world. All right, and then modeling responsible digital citizenship. Okay, and this extends outside of our building. We have students who are growing up, have grown up in a digital society, right? Like, our culture is very digital right now. So what does that look like when you're in an online space? We want to teach them to be respectful. We want to teach them to be respectful in a classroom where other students are trying to learn, right? So there's a lot that can be said about digital citizenship, but that's part of what these guys will be working on in their rooms. And then the last one is around engagement and accountability. So how do they engage with each other? How do they engage with the material? How do they engage with the facilitator? And what level of accountability do they have for making sure, as Ben was just talking about, that they are in charge of their own learning, but ask for help when they need it, okay? So that's kind of an overview of that. I can break that down more for you if you'd like later on. So this is just a small sample of all of the curriculums that we looked at. I don't know if any of you watched the podcast that Mr. Williamson and Mr. Downs and myself did. We talked a little bit about this. These were kind of what I would call the finalists. It's a lot. We sat in a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of conference calls, a lot of digital trials, it was a lot to take in. These are the ones that we felt like maybe we could make work here. And then for one reason or another, because you don't get to cherry pick the best of each, unfortunately, we wish that we could do that, because some of them had some outstanding features, and we're just not able to do that. So we picked, we narrowed it down to 2 because we do still want you to have a choice. They're very different. The 2 are very different. So, and you already know this, it's already been announced. Your choices for curriculum next year, if you are in 9th through 12th grade, are the BJU Press, which is what we've always used, or the Ignitia. I'm gonna walk you through both of them so that you can understand the differences as much as we can, okay? I wish that I could give you all the demos that we saw, but unfortunately, they will only do those live within a point. Like, you can't, we couldn't screen capture everything that we wanted to, so I'm gonna give you as much as we can. We're gonna start with BJU. Okay, so this was the basic rationale. I could list 100 bullet points here, but these were the most important, I felt. So students and staff are already familiar with BJU. Okay, you guys, students, you know what a BJU textbook looks like, right? You know the formula. So you know how you're gonna find your vocab words. You know what a chapter review looks like. You know approximately how often you're gonna have a quiz or how often you're gonna have a test. How much reading you're gonna have to do if you have homework, right? You can time that out. So our staff and our students are already familiar with the BJU Press material. The second bullet point there, we know as a school that BJU Press has consistently prepared our students. They have a solid, That's okay, I thought it was mine. They have a solid foundation in all of the core subjects. So our students have always been well prepared for where they're going, whether it's junior high into high school or high school into college. The BJU Press has a long history of preparing students for those things. They also have a really great emphasis in the biblical worldview integration area. Okay, they are very solid in biblical worldview. The third bullet point there, and this is something to distinguish, is we already have those physical textbooks that the BJU references in the video. So BJU, they'll still watch a video, but they have a physical textbook. Okay, that is not the case for Ignitia, and we'll talk about that later. So if you like to have a book, okay, then BJU, that's something to think about when you're making that decision. And we already have those, so it saves the school a little bit of money because we don't have to order a bunch of books for a different curriculum. And it keeps our students on the original trajectory that we wanted them to be on before this decision was made. Okay, I think that, I wanted to talk about, so this last bullet point here, continuing current curriculum will ensure continuity in academic rigor and instructional approach while students adjust to the digital classroom. So I wanted to talk about that word rigor. I talked about it a little bit in the last session too, because when we say that our curriculum is rigorous or that our school is rigorous, it does not mean hard. Okay, I hear people use that word and sometimes I think, I don't think that word means what you think it means, right? That was a Princess Bride reference for those. So the word rigorous means comprehensive, thorough. Okay, so when you go through the BJU curriculum and you put in the work, if you're a student, when you finish the BJU curriculum, you have mastered that content, okay? It's not a cursory overview course. It is a course that digs into the material, and that's what we consider ourselves to be as a school. When you graduate, we are a rigorous high school because you are thoroughly well prepared for college, right? Okay, so just wanna make sure we're all using that word in the right context, because sometimes I feel like it has a negative connotation and it should not be that way. All right, let me put my glasses on. Okay, so some features of BJU. I'm gonna show you a clip in a minute, just so you can kind of mentally prepare for it. It is a very traditional approach. The BJU curriculum will literally show you a video of a teacher standing in a classroom teaching. That's it. It's not fancy. It's not a lot of bells and whistles. It is a lecture. And then you'll be able to see the things that come up on the screen. Student will pause the video. They'll make notes. They do have an access to an ebook. So if they don't want to take that physical copy home or they're going on an airplane, okay, they have an ebook. And one of the features of the ebook is that it will read to you. Okay, it doesn't mean I want it to read to everybody, but if you're a student who struggles with reading long bits of text, you can put on headphones, have it read to you while you follow along on the screen. Okay, so that's helpful to some of our students. It also allows you as a parent to review, or as a student to review the content. So if you're trying to learn your math and you go home and you don't remember it, you can rewatch that lesson by yourself, with your parents, as many times as you want, so that you have that teacher there with you. There's a student dashboard, there's a parent portal, and I'm gonna show you screenshots of that later. So we're suggesting BJU for students who prefer a traditional approach to education, okay, who have a longer attention span, because there are larger chunks of video to attend to, maybe longer chunks of reading to do, who like to take just traditional lecture notes or use a physical textbook. Students who are resistant to change, if you want things to be the same as you've always known it or as much the same as it could be, then BJU would be a good option for you. Or students who need limited sensory input, okay, because you're gonna see when we get to the other one, there's a lot of things going on. This is very basic, okay? So I'm gonna show you a video. Before we start it, I wanna just kind of set it up for you. So I'm gonna show you the first like 2.5 minutes. This is from an English classroom, English 8. So you'll be able to see the teacher teaching. You'll be able to see what she puts up on the screen, that she can write on the board. And then we're gonna pause it, and I'm gonna skip to the end. have you watch the last 2 minutes so that you can see how that biblical worldview is integrated into the lesson, and how the homework is assigned, okay? Oh, wait. This thing times out. It has to be a trial again.
So who is the better storyteller, the ant or the bachelor? It's not really much of a question, is it? The bachelor on the train knocked it out of the park. The kids loved his story, and it kept them occupied until they got to their destination. Now, if you didn't read this story, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me encourage you to make sure that you always do your reading. Even if you don't get everything, you'll at least have a starting point when we discuss it. I said in our last lesson that there would be examples of irony in this story, so I want to dig into that a little bit. Let's start with verbal irony and specifically understatement. Both the ant and the children were conversational in a limited, persistent way, reminding one of the attentions of a housefly that refuses to be discouraged. You see some humor there. Most of the ant's remarks seem to begin with don't, and nearly all of the children's remarks began with why. The bachelor said nothing out loud. This is kind of a good example of understatement. And then he says, "You don't seem to be a success as a storyteller," said the bachelor suddenly from his corner. So these are examples of understatement and verbal irony because the narrator is communicating indirectly how annoying the conversation is. Rather than openly showing annoyance, the bachelor remains quiet, but the wording "he said nothing out loud" indicates to us that the bachelor had plenty to say. And then when he does choose to say something, it's understated. You're not a very good storyteller, are you? Okay, so what is it that's funny about the situation on the train? We have an ant who seems pleasant enough, but isn't able to really do anything that entertains the children. Cyril, the young boy, is constantly asking questions. The smaller girl is reciting a line from a poem, but just that one line. She's repeating it over and over. That's an example of understatement as well, and we also can identify the point of view in the story from this paragraph. It seemed to the bachelor as though someone had had a bet with her that she could not repeat the line aloud 2,000 times without stopping. Okay, so we can see in the story that we have a third person omniscient point of view. So basically a narrator who knows everything, a narrator who can show us all the characters and the thoughts and feelings of any of the characters. I think the lesson here is to remember that there are a lot of people out there who can tell a good story, like The Bachelor. But the story they're telling is not a redemptive one, and it can sometimes even be destructive. But if the way that story is presented is more appealing, many people may follow that storyteller and get further away from the truth. That means that we as Christians need to tell the truth in an appealing way, rather than an argumentative or boring way. We want to teach others and ourselves to truly love what is good, not just check some boxes or follow a code. God's grace, not mere moralistic teaching, brings about heart transformation for those who believe. Now, Saki, the author of the story, was probably not trying to get all children to pursue wickedness rather than goodness. He was trying to write an amusing story, and maybe even, ironically, trying to teach what I just talked about, the fact that moral instruction that doesn't address heart transformation is likely to backfire, or at the very least be ineffective. As for moral tone, we'd have to say that at least on the surface, this story doesn't have great moral tone. It's not a biblical moral tone like the fairy tale that we read previously. Because it shows the beauty and value of goodness, the magic brocade, that's that fairy tale we just read, aligns with a biblical worldview. The storyteller does not. So I've pretty much answered the big question already, I think. The big question is, why should I want to be good? And we've said that people should do good because they love goodness. Understanding the heart of God and his desire for his children to be righteous in their hearts, which will then spill into their actions, is what leads us to that desire for goodness. Well, you know what else would be good? For you to do some vocabulary. There is a vocabulary handout that goes along with this story. So you're going to work through that, and then next time we'll prepare to read a memoir, which is our first nonfiction selection.
Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of the BJU approach. I'm going to show you some screenshots from the student portal. So if you notice over on the left-hand side, there's a task pane where they can find all the things that they're trying to find. This is the completed tab, so students can look and see what's completed, what's future, and what's late. This fills in over here as assignments are graded and entered, so you should be able to look and see, you know, kind of how their grades are doing. This is the future tab. So you'll notice, so all the classes are color coded, so students will learn, you know, my math class is red, my English class is green, whatever. It tells them what kind of task that they're gonna have, but you'll notice this student worked ahead because all of the future work on this page is already crossed off. Okay, so, and then it also tells the student, there's a handout for this lesson. So you can click on that and get your handout, or you can ask the teacher, do you have a paper handout? I prefer paper because they, I believe, will have packets with all of those in them. It gives the student the objectives for each lesson, so they'll be able to identify the main idea of each chapter, or, you know, as they start a unit. They will know what materials they're gonna need to start the lesson that day or the unit. And then it also tells them, again, there are a lot of places where they get the same information so that they don't have the opportunity to miss it. Okay, so again, there's a handout here. You're gonna need that handout. And then up there, action, your action today is to watch. Sometimes it will say to read. Sometimes it will say turn in. Okay, they always know what the action is for each assignment. And then over here, they're supposed to enter how many minutes they spent on that lesson that day. And I talked more about that in the last group because junior high students sometimes need a little nudge to do more minutes, but high school's pretty good about that. So, but that will be these guys. They will be watching to say, no ma'am, you did not do 22 minutes on that. You did 2 minutes on that. All right, so that was one of the features we liked in one of the other programs that we weren't able to get, is it actually would send an alert to the facilitator saying, hey, this student only spent 2 minutes on this, their engagement with the material was probably pretty low. Okay, so we'll do all of that manually. On this one, it just tells the student how far they've progressed in the lesson, so the student is at 100%. Oh, due date's up there, due on May 23rd. So they always know when their assignments are due. And then this one, so no lesson for today, yay, but click here to work ahead. Okay, so we talked about that, I think at a previous session at the town hall, somebody asked, you know, what will students do if they're ahead? If they're ahead, they'll keep working and stay ahead. Okay, we don't want them to just sit there for 45 minutes and do nothing. And we'll talk about schedules in a minute. But they do have that option to keep working. And then this last one is the calendar. So again, if they don't like that assignment list and that doesn't work for them and they want to see it in a different way, every day they have a calendar. It'll tell them, these are all clickable. It'll tell them what their list is for that day, their task list. And these guys can manipulate the calendar. So if we have a snow day, they can go in, tell the computer there was a snow day, and it will just reassign everything and spread it back out again. So that's kind of a nice feature. Okay. BJU Press doesn't have a lot of elective options. Okay, we'll talk about that more. But if you want to be BJU Press only, okay, these are your elective options. Okay, I'll come back to that because good news is coming. All right, moving on. So I'm going to talk about Ignitia a little bit because that's the big question mark. Nobody's familiar with it. And again, we're gonna show you as much as we can show you. I wish that we could show you a live demo of somebody doing it, but we just can't. But we will show you enough. I think that you'll get the idea. Okay, so why we chose this one, it's been around since 2018. It has been wildly successful. It's got really good reviews. They are constantly upgrading their platform, so if somebody tells them, hey, this is outdated information in this lesson, they get it corrected pretty quickly. They have a comprehensive range of core courses and electives. We're gonna skip past that second one because our entire program is self-paced, especially at the high school level, but it does teach them time management skills, and you'll see that as we go through the demo. They offer something called on-demand tutoring, which you're gonna see a video of here shortly, so I'm not gonna talk a lot about that, but it is an excellent feature. And then this one right here, placement testing. So the Ignitia offers placement testing for each course. So if your student is maybe a little bit behind in math, or let's say they have a little bit of a learning gap, the computer will start them where they need to be, okay? Now, within reason, okay, if you're a 10th grade student test into 5th grade math, then we're gonna have to have a conversation, okay? But also, if they test ahead, it might cut off like the first 3 chapters of the grammar book, okay? So it does kind of intuitively place your student within the course that they're taking, okay? And then most importantly, it is a faith-based publisher. That was important to us. And it is a non-denominational Christian publisher, which is the kind of school that we are, right? So features of this to watch for as we go through the demo video. So Ignitia is a blend of text, video, interactive components. It's smaller chunks, okay, so maybe they will read something. All of the reading is done on screen though, there are no textbooks. So, well, I'll come back to that, remind me to come back to that. But most of the reading is done on screen. They'll do a little reading assignment, and then maybe they'll do video, they'll watch a video, or they'll come back and there's a little game they can play to learn the vocab. It has a lot of helps built in, and that is covered in the demo. So if they don't know how to pronounce a word, they can click on it and it will pronounce it for them. If they want to know more about a word, what does rigor mean? Okay, they can click on the little globe and it will look up the word rigor and give them a definition of it. There are just a lot of helps that BJU doesn't offer. They have weekend tech support. It also has a student dashboard and a parent portal. So we would suggest Ignitia for students who cannot attend to those longer BJU videos. This keeps them busy. It's like a small chunk, a small chunk, a small chunk. And they might have to do more than one reading per lesson, but they're not gonna do it all at the same time. Students who do well with bite-sized tasks. Students who prefer a more modern looking platform. Okay, so our students who are used to being online a lot, or dual enrollment students, they're probably used to something that looks a little more modern than what the BJU looks like. Students who need more built-in help features, and students who don't mind not having a physical textbook, okay? I will just say this now because I'm gonna forget to come back. So we have not seen them, but we are told that there are workbooks that go with the lessons. So if you want to purchase those, it's like $99. Is it per class? I don't remember. We looked at so many curriculums. I think it's per grade, or is it per class?
I think it's per class.
But it's for the year. So it'll take you from lesson 1 to the end of the year. So if you really have to have a textbook, I believe it's like a little stack of workbooks that you get that go with it. But you don't need it. You don't need it, it's just an option. And I think we're gonna buy one for the facilitators to have in the classroom so that the students can reference them. And then if we really, really like them, we'll let you know and we can suggest that you buy them. But that's where we're at right now. Okay, so I wanna preface this demo by saying, this is from another school, or it's from an agency that helps schools and parents pick curriculums for their children. So not everything that the school says is gonna apply to us. For example, they say, deadlines don't matter. They do. But it's just saying.
Yes.
Okay. But it's gonna give you, the only thing it doesn't show you is what the video content looks like. So the video content is much more modern looking, but it doesn't show you that. I could not find any to share with you. We looked hard. I think it's just license protected. So we're gonna show you this and we'll talk after.
Welcome to IBLA. We look forward to helping you choose the right curriculum to meet your individual learning needs. With this demo of our Ignitia Christian curriculum, you will see the basics of how to work the system and the benefits that might match your personal learning style. Ignitia is a great program for you if your main goal is to view your school subjects through a Christian worldview. Let's begin. First, you will log into our Christian curriculum using the username and password provided. Your landing page will show you a sample of what your student's assignment schedule might look like. You will see a breakdown of assignments that are coming up for each class. Once enrolled, you would have due dates as a guide. They are always flexible at IBLA. And you will see on the left if you have anything overdue to attend to first. Each unit in Ignitia has 4 basic types of assignments: lessons in blue, projects marked in green, quizzes marked in orange, or tests which would be marked in red. To take a look at an overview of the courses and what they will look like, click on Courses at the top. On this page, you will see a score in the class and a basic overview of the student's progress. Click on a class to see the units. Once you are here, click on any unit to see its contents. You can click on any assignment within a unit to get a sample of what it looks like. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of Ignitia by going into one of the lessons. You will want to look at your toolbar to the right, which has 4 important options. First, you can always print the page. Second, you can highlight a word that you don't know and click the globe and it will give you more information as a reference. Next, you can use the translation option to translate any text into a language of your choosing. Finally, you can highlight a section and have it read out loud to you in a voice of your choosing.
Sometimes mathematics has a set of rules which must be.
Going through the lesson, you can see that they have interactive components such as videos and games. Any videos will have an option to turn into transcripts if you need or would prefer. When they have completed reviewing a lesson, students can complete the assignment associated with the lesson by clicking on Questions at the top right. Ignitia will include a mix of multiple choice, short answer, and essay questions. Once a test is scored, you will have the option to show answers, to review your work, and ask for help, which sends a message directly to your teacher, who will always be happy to assist. If you'd like to spend some time looking at other subjects and lessons, quizzes, or project samples, simply click on the Courses tab at the top again and choose another subject, an assignment. Take your time and ask us questions. We know choosing a curriculum that fits your needs is an important part of your
Okay, so you could see as she scrolled through, the video content was kind of grayed out. That would be where they would stop and watch a little video. Most of the Ignitia videos are like 3 minutes. Okay, they're not 15, 20, 30-minute videos like the Bob Jones videos are. But they might watch multiple videos in a singular lesson. But in between, they're gonna read some text, they're gonna play a game, they're gonna, do some other things and then come back. So that's really good for students who tend to zone out or fall asleep or, all the things that students struggle with. I saw some adults in the last session struggling to stay awake. I myself could probably sleep right now, so I get it. Okay, I get it. I also am really excited to show you this next demo. This is something that even if you choose the BJU we will still be able to offer for you. It is not curriculum specific, so we will offer on-demand tutoring for all math and science classes regardless of which curriculum you choose. Okay, this is a really nice feature, and this is about a 2.5-minute video.
Welcome to an overview of Imagine Learning's on-demand tutoring, where expert tutors provide real-time, individualized tutoring support in a secure online platform. In Ignitia, students will see the option to chat with a tutor directly in their virtual portal at the top left corner of their dashboard. Clicking this button will allow them to launch Imagine Learning's online tutoring platform and connect with a tutor. The tutor will greet the student, identify learning goals, and begin to assess existing understandings to help scaffold the student up from concepts they already understand to the new ideas they are learning. Students have the option to communicate with their tutor by either typing into the chat box or through an audio call, where the student and tutor can talk to one another in real time as they work through the concepts together. They may also collaborate on a shared interactive whiteboard, which has a variety of tools for working through problems together. Both the tutor and the student can free write or type text onto the whiteboard, insert various shapes and symbols, build equations, upload images, and more. The whiteboard is a powerful tool for allowing students to visualize concepts and engage in the learning process. Students are always encouraged to explore their thinking to help uncover any misconceptions that they may have and develop deeper understandings. Imagine Learning's tutors are subject matter experts who are fully invested in the success of each learner. They're available 7 days a week and strive to provide a positive and individualized learning experience for every student.
Okay, so that's a nice feature that any of you will have access to next year. Also, so remember that tiny little list of BJU electives that I showed you?
Yeah.
So even if you go with BJU, you will also have access to the Ignitia electives, which are quite more extensive. Okay, so there's a reason why that one looks different, but these are all of the regular Ignitia electives. And then if you go to the next screen, they also have a whole nother list of CTE electives for our students who want to go to VOTEC or go into technical careers. Okay, so as you can see, there's something for everybody, and it just comes down to how do you want to spend your time, like Ben was talking about earlier. And we're going to talk about that more here in a second, because I'm going to show you. And I know you can't read all these. I just kind of wanted you to see how many there were. I can get you a list. Okay, so one of the top 5 questions we've been getting is, what is the schedule going to look like? Okay, we don't know. Here's 10 options. I fit 10 on there. We probably have 10 other options. We are working with a lot of unknowns right now. We need answers to all of the questions so that we can firm this up. Okay, so we don't know how many students, how many students are gonna be here? How many students are gonna pick Ignitia? How many students are gonna pick BJU? Bless you. How many students are going to want to do dual enrollment and VOTEC and band and choir and sport? Okay, so all of those things factor into where our schedule is gonna land. So we have options, we are prepared, we are thinking ahead, but we've kind of gone as far as we can go until we have answers to more things, okay? I do wanna say, I said this to the junior high and I was sure about it. I'm not sure about it for the high school. I think it will be up to you. So no study halls in the junior high. Okay, high school, if you feel like you need a study hall. Okay, we're moving to if you want to go back to that other one really quick, I will point out, we're moving to a 7-period day. Okay, what that does is it makes your 5 core class periods a little bit longer, so you have more time to get your homework done, right? It also, we want our elective classes to be a little longer so that you have time to change before and after PE. You have time to get your band instrument and put it away properly and help with chairs and music stands and all of those things. And you have more time to spend with your peers so that you're not on a screen all the time, okay? But it also only gives you 2 elective periods because you have 5 core classes. You have Bible and all the other classes. So that's where the personalized part comes in. Those will be personal conversations that we will have with you. You will have to decide, do I wanna do my dual enrollment class in a study hall, in a dual enrollment period? Or do I wanna do it at home at 7 o'clock every night so I can take band, okay? You have options. That's the whole point of personalized learning, but you're gonna have to think about that. Like, do you wanna do all the things or do you wanna do some of the things? Because life's all about choices, and our school traditionally, our students wanna do all the things, and we try to help you do all the things, but, you know, we are limited, and you're gonna be limited as to how much you can do unless you just really, if you wanna graduate in 3 years, do it. But you're probably gonna have to do dual enrollment at home, right? Or we're gonna talk about those kinds of things, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, so back to the other one. This is another factor that affects our scheduling. So as of right now, we have 4 students registered for VOTEC next year. That is closed. If you haven't signed up for that, you can no longer do that. That's just for juniors and seniors. But it affects our schedule, so I left it up there so that you understand we want those kids who are gonna be leaving in the afternoon to go to VOTEC to maybe be able to still be in band. So maybe band isn't at the end of the day anymore. Maybe now it's first or second period, so they can do band before they leave, right? So those are just kind of the things that we're looking at. Dual enrollment, that is still open. If you're in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade and you haven't applied yet, and we've been talking about it for months now, I would suggest you get on that. As of right now, we have 4 students who are signed up for dual enrollment. None of them are leaving campus, they're all doing it online. But that also affects our scheduling. Okay, so there are just little nuances that we're trying to work with, so the more information you can give us, the faster we can give you those answers for what's the schedule gonna look like. All right, I'm gonna let Mrs. Corwin talk about Bloxy, something that we're looking into for next year.
So Bloxy is not a program that your students will actually interact with. It is a behind the scenes, it'll be installed on their computers. It's something that whenever they open Google Chrome and they log into their GCS accounts, it'll automatically be on there, even if they're on their own personal devices at home. So when they are logged in, we can see everything they do. We have record of everything they do. This program can allow us as the teachers to be able to see their screens in real time. We can have a screen up off to the side that shows all the students' screens in the classroom, so you can see that they're on task, that they're doing what they need to do, that they're not where they shouldn't be, because Bloxy does have some massive controls that we can have. When we went through the demo, we've got an open demo right now that we have actually been able to use a couple times in the classrooms, just to see how it looks on the teacher side. It's pages of things that we can not allow this, we're gonna allow this, we can turn this off, we can turn that on, it's just so much. And we, right now, in the demo that we're using, it's pretty much locked down that they can't do anything fun. We could change that to add a little bit of fun. It only works in Chrome itself though. So we can see what they're doing in Chrome. We can see that they're staying on task. It also sends Mr. Bradshaw, Mrs. Colford, and I right now critical alerts. So I'll give you an example of one. Mr. Schwartz has the infamous Bible reports for almost every grade level. I absolutely love them. I've gotten to read some of them now because did you know that Ruth said, "Where you die, I'll die"? If I didn't know before, I would now, because one of the critical alerts keeps coming to us that this is a Bible verse that's showing up multiple times in some papers. And that's okay. That Bible verse is okay to put in a paper. It's just letting us know that, hey, this student is talking about dying a lot. You might want to look into this. However, we can also go back to that alert on our end and say, this one's a safe one. This one's okay. So every time now Ruth says, where you die, I'll die, we're not going to get that critical alert every time. It also gives the teachers the ability to remotely freeze or lock a screen. So if we have some important announcement we need to give to the class, and we still see that 3 people are just not paying attention, they're just doing whatever they want on their laptops, we can freeze all their screens so they can't do anything. We can also look at their screens and say, I don't think you're supposed to be on that. We can also look at their screens and go, let's share what you were doing to show the class that this is how it's supposed to go, or this is not what you're supposed to be doing. That kind of thing. We can display it to the whole group using our own computers and a projector. It also detects plagiarism and ensures academic integrity. So it'll let us know, hey, in this paper, it looks like this whole paragraph came from this website. Or this does not sound like the rest of the paper. Or I think eventually it also starts learning the student's voice and then lets us know, hey, this doesn't sound like the same student's voice anymore. That is just like the kind of tip of the iceberg that they were explaining to us in the half an hour that I've chatted with them. It does also allow students to work safely within the online world without feeling undesirable content. So all of those lockdown features, we can lock down so many things. We can even, as a teacher, say, we only want you working in BJU or on the Ignitia website right now. So we can lock it down that they can't go anywhere else during a specific time. And there is also an out-of-school time parental control that we can turn on at a later date once we understand how it works. But pretty much what that will allow you to do is your student is at home, they want to play games online or whatever. You can say, all right, you can play for an hour. You can go into that parental control and say, my child can be on this website for 1 hour. And after an hour, it's going to shut it off. They can't play anymore because you have cut them off. So it does make it a little easier on your end too. We don't have a demo of that at all, so we don't know how that works yet to see how it interacts with what we provide. So we want to see how it works for us first and then pilot it out to you if it's something that you wish to have access to. That's about it.
I do just want to stress that part over there in the blue, that we're not trying to suck the fun out of the kids' learning. Okay, we're trying to minimize distractions so that they can stay focused on their work and get their work done. Right. So I know sometimes it feels like we're trying to suck the fun out of your learning, but that really is not the goal. Okay. So more common facts or questions and answers. Do students have to come to school? Yes, absolutely. We want to keep our community vibe, our GCS culture. We need you to be here. We don't want to be a strictly online school. Okay, so we need you here. You'll still get tardies, you'll still get absences. What if I get done early? We already talked about that. Did we talk about that, or was that the last group? If you get done early, which honestly in high school, I don't think that will be happening a lot. But if you have consecutive 45 or 50-minute classes where you're consistently finishing your work in 10 or 15 minutes just so you can be done, we will hand you that extensive list of electives and say, pick one, okay? Because we're not just gonna let you sit there and do nothing, okay? We want you to make progress, or we'll finish the class. Keep going, you can be a week ahead, it's fine, all right? Will I see my friends? Yes. You will still see them before school, after school, chapel, sports, lunchtime, in between classes. There will still be bells. Okay, so you'll see them all the times you usually see them. Will you get a report card? Yes, but it's gonna be different. You will not get a 5-week progress report. You will not get those grades in GradeLink. All of that will be in the platform that you choose so that you can go in and look at it at any time. When the course is completed, those grades will be transferred over to a GCS report card. Okay, so we're not sure yet. We're gonna have to wait and see how next year goes. One of the question marks is, will there be parent-teacher conferences for secondary? I don't know, because there might be hey, this is what I noticed in the classroom. You can meet with them if you wanna meet with them, but they're not the teachers. So that's a question that we're still working out. What about homework? Okay. Homework is assigned within the course. okay? I don't know how much homework there is in Ignitia, for example, or Bob Jones for that matter. But what I can tell you is it's flexible. You are now in charge of your own pacing, okay? So families can decide together if you need to not do homework for 2 nights because you've got a really hectic volleyball game week, let's say, it's okay. You can do your homework the next day when you get here before you start that next lesson. However, if you do that every day, you're not gonna be done by the end of the year. And you're probably not gonna go on to the next grade because you still do have to complete courses to be promoted to the next grade. But it is flexible, okay? So that's something that you're now in charge of. If you need to not do homework on a night or 2, it's okay. If you're a student who really does get your work done in 15 minutes because you're just super smart, you can do 2 lessons in a day and you can be ahead and not do homework for a while. Okay, so the homework situation is so much better because nobody else is affected. Miss E isn't gonna have to send somebody out to the hallway because we need to grade a quiz and you didn't do it, right? Or we need to read a story and you didn't do it. So that kind of works itself out. Can I use my own computer? No. You can at home, but at school, for all the reasons that Mrs. Corwin just talked about and more, each student will be assigned a specific device so that we can monitor that device and make sure that all of the things that you need to have on that computer to run the program are there. And then what if I'm absent? This also is kind of a beautiful thing. This was one of the questions that came up in the last session. So we don't want you to be absent, okay? One thing that happened during COVID was all of a sudden, not here, just nationally, everybody decided that coming to school was optional, okay? Your success as a student is directly related to you being in the classroom, okay? To you having a regular routine, okay? But some of you are fortunate enough to be able to take your kids out of school during the school year and you go on week-long trips or 2-week-long trips. And I'm really jealous of that. Quite good for you. Okay? So in this instance, you can take your curriculum with you. You can do your curriculum while you're gone, or you can come back and try and play catch up, or you can work ahead before you go. It is very flexible and customizable to your family, okay? I think that's, oh no, so this is my last slide and then I'm gonna answer your questions. So next steps. Okay, I kind of talked about this already. What do we need to be able to give you all the information? We need enrollment commitments. Mrs. Romeo is waiting on your intent to return answers. Those were emailed out. We have a lot of non-responses. So even a no is better than nothing. Okay, we want you to come back, but right now we're working with imaginary numbers. So even to let us know like, hey, we're not sure, but this is the way we're leaning would be helpful, okay? I'm gonna need a curriculum decision. Can you grab those papers off of my table in my office? I forgot to bring them, thank you. I'm gonna give you 2 pieces of paper tonight. One of them is just a quick exit survey. It's literally 1, maybe 2 boxes, I don't remember, where you're gonna check, this is how I'm feeling right now. Not about returning, just about curriculum. If I had to pick right now, this is the curriculum that I would choose, okay? That's all I need you to do, hand it to one of us 3, that would be really helpful. I'm gonna give you another paper that you're gonna bring. I'll email it too, because I know you're gonna lose it, but I want you to look at it. The parent-student meetings in July, the 2nd week of July, we're gonna ask you to come, sit down with you and your student and Mrs. Corwin and probably me, and make those commitments to build your schedule. We're not doing it at back to school night this year. You will know when you come in what your schedule is gonna be, and we will have that digital classroom ready to roll on day 1. Okay, so, but you have decisions to make before then. So I can't give you information on classes to pick from until I know which curriculum you're picking from. Okay, so it just kind of all snowballs on top of each other. You can go ahead and, I guess, should we leave them up here? Would it be easier if I just left them up here, or do you want us to pass them out? So 1 per family is really all we need, not 1 per person of the half sheets and the whole sheets. 1 per student. Let's do 1 per student. So actually those were supposed to get cut in half and I didn't cut them in half. Sorry, there's not enough minutes in the day, you guys.
I know.
So if I owe you an email, I'm sorry. I don't think I owe anybody one, but I probably am behind. Okay, so questions. What questions do you have? We will be happy to answer them now. Yeah, so
On the curriculum, will there be settings so you can have like a darker background and lighter letters?
oh, that's a good question. I think probably in the Ignitia. I don't know that to be true, but it wouldn't surprise me. But not in the BJU. Yeah, Brianna.
I've done
Fiona.
classes in online school. I've done classes online before, and what I'm wondering is like, will there be like open book stuff, or will there be like closed book? Grade tests and quizzes, like will it be open book or closed book? Because
I think for the BJ, is Elena in here? Did she go home? Are you allowed to use your notes on the BJU test?
I'm not sure about the test.
I think you're allowed to use your notes, but